Hey kids, it's Mr. Flom here, hope you're well, and welcome back to Bike News, this time for the month of August 2024. So welcome back to the channel folks, and welcome back to Bike News. Got 4 more papers to go through, so without further ado, let's crack on with what's been going on in the world of motorcycling here in the UK for August 2024. Right, first story in the first paper then. Red Revolution. Ducati ditched the single-sided swing arm in the most eye-opening way with a game-changing Panigale V4. What do you make of this, folks? The Panigale, a beautiful sports bike, it's had another generation, if you like, another revamp. Let's read what it says here, and then we'll have a little chat. It says here, Ducati have upped the superbike stakes once again, revealing the next evolution of the Panigale V4, the 7th generation of the sports bike to use the name. The new model stands out thanks to their revised styling and swing arm, and it's got a double-sided swing arm this time, which seems to be the thing that's taken all the news. And I have to say, it looks pretty fancy. I think the fact that it's lost the single-sided swing arm doesn't really detract from the looks of the bike particularly, and it looks cool. Anyway, it says here, gone is the single-sided swing arm. It's been replaced with a shell-cast aluminium double-sided option, which Ducati claim reduces lateral stiffness by 37% to improve traction and feel as riders get on the gas. So it's incredible, isn't it? They've replaced it with something that's less stiff to make it better, give you more feel. It's kind of counterintuitive, that, isn't it, almost? But there we go. I guess if you're a track rider, those sort of things make all the difference. It will be completely lost on me, that's for sure. The angry front lights and gaping twin air intakes have gone too, with the aerodynamic wings now integrated into the fairing. The tailpiece has also been extended further from the rear, more room for the rider to move around the bike. It's powered by a Euro 5 compliant 1103cc Desmo Sedici Stradale V4 engine that's actually 1 kilogram lighter than before, so I'm sure that's going to make all the difference. £29,995, 30 grand if you want one of these. Puts out 212.3 bhp and it weighs 187 kilograms wet, it says here, but that's with no fuel. So that's a bit of a strange measure, isn't it? A bit disingenuous when manufacturers say things like that, isn't it? 187 kilograms wet, you sort of assume it's at least got some fuel in it, but not in this case. So what do we make of that, folks? I mean, I love Panigales. They are beautiful looking bikes. Although over the generations, this now is, what is it, the 7th generation? I think they've lost a bit of their initial beauty. I think the first ever Panigale that came out, it was the 1199 then, wasn't it? I think it was the most beautiful of the batch. It just looks sleek and slim and lovely. Now it's got a bit bloated, and with all the wings and stuff, it's lost some of its purity for me. But I get it's all about shaving microseconds off your lap time, and that's the thing. That's the problem with this bike, isn't it? It doesn't really make sense if you're a road rider. The majority of people, I guess, watching this video will not be the sort of person that's going to want to jump on that bike. 30 grand, a lot of bike, and it's really for the track. It'll be absolutely wasted on the road. So kind of incredible but irrelevant is sort of my summary of that. Let me know if you think I'm wrong and you'd like to ride one of those on the road. I think it'd be completely wasted to do that. Okay, next story. Royal Enfield go large. Factory custom 850 goes down a storm at Goodwood, but it's only a one-off for now. So it says here, Royal Enfield could be gearing up to join the mid-size adventure bike market with a large parallel twin model, having showcased a bored-out 850 Rally Custom at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. MCN caught up with the brand's chief of design, Mark Wells, who said, "There's absolutely no doubt, and I'm not saying anything I shouldn't here, it's that it's our most asked for product." This is kind of a retro Dakar-esque off-roady type bike. I can't confirm or deny anything he said. I guess what I can say is the demand is there. And then MCN say, in other words, don't rule it out yet. So they kind of showcased this Dakar-esque Royal Enfield at Goodwood. Went down a storm apparently. I guess it's their way of testing the market a bit to see what reaction is. What do you make of it? I typically don't like Dakar-esque bikes, but in recent years they've been growing on me a bit, and I've started to appreciate the sort of upright stance. And this one looks okay from what I can see of it. A bit odd from the front, maybe, but yeah, whether I want a Royal Enfield version of it, I don't know. But anyway, we'll see what crops up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, next up, the future is now. Kawasaki demonstrate potential of hydrogen-powered bikes. Kawasaki made history at Suzuka when they demonstrated their hydrogen-powered prototype machine in action. It was proof that the bike works, but many still question the viability of hydrogen as a fuel. Kawasaki certainly believe the fuel has potential. Hydrogen engines produce power like conventional gasoline engines. Air is taken in, mixed with fuel, and then combusted. When hydrogen combusts, water is produced. The engine sounds very similar to what you'd expect from a petrol machine too, but there's no getting away from the enormous rear bodywork which houses the hydrogen fuel tanks. So that was why I highlighted this story actually. Check out this the picture of the bike here, and those massive, what look like panniers, are actually the hydrogen fuel cells, I guess is what you'd call them. They are absolutely massive, and this, I think, is one of the technical issues with hydrogen, is it's quite a light or not very dense gas, and therefore you need quite a lot of it, or a lot of volume of it. I might be talking rubbish here, I'm not a chemist, let's not get into areas that I don't. But the point is, they have massive tanks and they look ridiculous. So that might be the downcoming of hydrogen as a fuel. I think there might be a better alternative, of which more in a later paper. So keep that thought in your head. All right, next up, MT-09 goes semi-automatic. So here we go, Yamaha confirms sporty 3-cylinder roadster as first bike to use the new Y-AMT system. So it's yet another of these automatic gearbox systems that seem to be so, seems to be the flavour of the year, doesn't it? Now, I rode the Honda version of it and I really liked the way that it worked. It was a very clever system. Whether I was crying out to have that system on a bike like that, I don't know. And the same with the MT-09. I absolutely love the MT-09. It's a cracking bike to ride. It's really fun, really engaging and exhilarating. I'm not sure I want an automatic though. So I wonder who it is who's asking for these. I wonder why the manufacturers are so intent on bringing us these. Is it that manufacturers saw what Honda did and thought, oh, we'll have some of that? But that doesn't make sense because Honda have been making DCT for ages and no one copied that. But this version seems to be, you know, BMW have got one, haven't they? Honda, Yamaha, others have all said they're going down this route. Very strange. Don't know who's asking for them. For me, I don't think it's relevant on a sort of a naked roadster. Again, I might be talking out of turn, but let me know your thoughts below. They do make sense in automatic gearbox, I think, if you're looking for a sort of a lazier ride, a relaxing ride. So cruisers, touring bikes, that sort of thing, I absolutely get it. I have DCT on my own Honda Goldwing, and as a tourer, that is an amazingly relaxing, comfortable ride, and the automatic gearbox just makes things better. But on a bike that you're going to have fun on, scratching around the back lanes, and changing gear is part of the fun, isn't it? So I don't know what's going on there. I'd be fascinated to know where the intelligence is coming to the manufacturers that we're all asking for automatic gearboxes. Anyway, we shall see how they sell. I just hope that they remain an option and don't become something that is kind of forced on us. Anyway, let's see what it says here. Yamaha's mega-selling MT-09 Naked will be the first machine to come with the option of the company's incoming Y-AMT semi-automatic gear shifting system. The Japanese brand announced the introduction of Yamaha automated manual transmission in late June, weighing in a claimed 2.8 kilograms, so really light. The system does away with the need for a left-hand clutch lever and left foot shifter, with the operation of the clutch and gearbox now done via electric motors. Yamaha say Y-AMT is faster and more efficient than the quick shifter and allows the rider to focus more on braking and body position. There's no word on pricing yet. Now that is a good point, actually, something I forgot. When I rode the Honda, I can't remember what theirs is called now, it's on the CB650. And that was great fun in that it did operate quicker than a quick shifter, and a quick shifter's fun on that sort of bike, isn't it? So you could argue, well, have one of these because it's cheaper, maybe better for the engine, and you know, you just get the same fun as a quick shifter. So maybe that's a justification which I missed out there in my little spiel to start with. But yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure about it on that sort of bike is all I'm saying. Again, fascinated to hear your comments below. Right, one here from Talking Point, the letters page, BBC's Total Respect. Now, I read this and I completely agree with it because I thought the same of this at the time. Let me read this. It's a letter or an email from Ray Starkey. Was I the only person watching BBC News when the fatal accident involving a car and motorcycle was reported? Now, this was now probably a month or so ago. Do you remember there was a nasty road accident? I seem to remember it was involving a Porsche and a motorcycle, and several people were killed. It was a horrible accident. It must have been to make national news. Anyway, it says here, several minutes were spent describing the impact of the deaths of the family members on the local community and wider family. At the end of the bulletin, it was mentioned that a motorcyclist and pillion had been killed. No names and no description. Are we so insignificant that bikers are treated so disrespectfully? So I initially thought that the bikers weren't being named because either they weren't known or perhaps there was some legal reason why they couldn't be named. But then a few days later, they did get named. So I don't know what was going on here. There's more to this story than meets the eye. But I too did note when that story came out that all the focus was on the people that were terribly, sadly, tragically killed in the car. And no focus was put on the bikers that were killed, which I did think was a total unbalance as well. But maybe there was a legal reason why that was. But it was a strange bit of reporting, I thought. So, yeah, I agree with Ray Starkey there. I thought that was odd as well at the time. Alrighty, on to the next paper. Okay, just 3 stories I've picked out here. First one here, Space Age Armour, it says here. This is some newfangled armour that a new company has brought out. Brit firm uses NASA tech well, if it's developed by NASA, it must be good, to create flexible and lightweight protectors. A British company has developed a range of motorcycle armour using technology originally designed to be deployed on NASA space shuttles, because you need bike armour there. The armour has been produced with the aim of being the most comfortable on the market. Now, the thing is, this is this sort of non-Newtonian stuff, so it's all flexible until it gets hit in an impact, and then it goes hard and protects you. So my question to you is, do you trust armour like that? Let me read a couple more bits here, and then again a bit more discussion. So it says here, the cell-like structure of the armour allows more material to move in towards the point of impact to give greater protection to the rider. The non-Newtonian nature of the products is achieved on a molecular level by Rheon's chemist. Rheon is the name of the company that's developed it. And non-Newtonian are things like, you know, custard powder. You know, if you fill a bowl with custard powder, hit it with your fist, it goes solid. But if you just slowly move your fist in, of course, you can put your fist in there. There are others as well. I think flour technically is non-Newtonian as well. And that's the same principle that these protectors work on. Rheon say customer feedback led them to focus more on comfort than thickness. Rheon's Paul Farrer said, so is it going to be the world's highest performing protection, or is it going to be the world's thinnest? We can pass CE at sub 4 mil, but actually when you speak to customers, that doesn't really resonate with them. They don't believe armour that thin is going to protect them. And that is my question to you, because it's a very true point, isn't it? If you're wearing protection that feels kind of protective, regardless of how it's been tested and what the CE ratings are, you feel like you're protected, don't you? The bigger, the thicker the armour, almost the better, the more safe you feel. So do you trust this sort of armour? I have some similar stuff to this in some of my jackets. I've got the, I can't remember, so it's the D30 stuff, isn't it? The orange stuff that's a similar non-Newtonian flexible type armour. And it is very comfortable to wear. You barely know that you've got it in the jacket. But I do wonder, you know, I don't want to try it out and find out, but you do wonder whether it's going to work in an accident, don't you? But presumably it's been tested. But yeah, it's interesting that this company, Rheon, that's developing this, has said that their customer feedback says, even if it does work, if it's thin, we don't trust it, so make it thicker, please. I think it's absolutely fascinating. But it just shows there's some psychology involved in this stuff, isn't there? Right, next up. It's new, but is it worth it? Enfield Target Next Generation Bargain Price Gorilla 450 ditches retro image as classic brand makes a bid to attract younger riders. So this, the new Royal Enfield Gorilla, was launched a few weeks ago. There was a big launch, I think it was in Spain. And this is a bike that it uses the 450cc engine out of the new Himalayan, which is a lovely unit. And instead of making it like a retro, they made it look like more of a modern roadster. But to me, it's still got kind of retro hints, to be honest. It says here, on the face of it, oh, by the way, on that launch, I did ask Royal Enfield out of interest why I didn't get an invite, and they said that words to the effect of it wasn't aimed at riders like me. So there we go. I think that just means old geezers shouldn't bother, but there we go. Anyway, I'll crack on. Those are my words, not theirs. On the face of it, the Royal Enfield Gorilla 450 is simply a naked version of the Himalayan 450, but while the pair share the same 452cc Sherpa single, there's a revised frame, fresh geometry, new forks, different rim sizes and more besides. In short, it's a completely different proposition. Prices start at just $4,850, which is an incredible price, isn't it? I assume they're aiming at this at the Triumph 400s because it's that sort of bike. Anyway, with Enfield hoping the easygoing dimensions and circa 40 HP will tempt a new wave of young riders. There you go, that's the key. You get a full colour TFT dash with mobile connectivity and built-in sat-nav, riding modes and decent pillion accommodation. So that's a lot of functionality, isn't it, for a bike costing so little? I'm sure it'll ride fine. Not sure you need riding modes on a 450, but there we go. They're there anyway. What do you make of this? Do you fancy it? Would you have this over the Triumph? I'm not sure. I haven't ridden one yet, and I have no plans to ride one. But yeah, at some point I'll have a go, and we'll see what we think. I do like the look of the dash. I like the way that they've got it modern, but still on a round dial. That looks good. And yeah, the overall bike looks good. I have ridden the Himalayan. The review of that is in the can, and I'll be coming in a few weeks' time. And I have to say that new engine is excellent. It's called a Sherpa, which is a bit unfortunate, because to my mind, the name Sherpa just conjures up horrible British Leyland vans. But other than that, I'm sure it'll be a great bike. Anyway, moving on. What have we got here? Daytona Lady Star GTX boots. Now I wanted to raise this because I put up a video a few weeks back about Mrs. Flyer and the fact that we had to get the seat lowered on her Kawasaki Z900 RS so she could get her feet on the deck. And so many people said, why don't she get a pair of Daytona Lady Star GTX boots, because they've got a built-up internal heel. They give you a few extra inches, you can touch down easier. Well, the surprise, she has already got a pair of those. And I agree, they are absolutely fantastic. So if you've not come across these before and you are a shorter rider, definitely worth considering. And it doesn't matter, lady or gent, frankly, because no one will know they're the lady style ones. They look exactly the same as other Daytona boots. It'll be your little secret. Having a, they give you, I think it's about a 3-inch lift at the back, so it definitely makes getting your feet flat down on some of the taller bikes easier if you are vertically challenged. Mrs. Fly has a pair. She absolutely swears by them. I wear Daytona boots as well, by the way. I've got a couple of pairs of them. I have the men's version of these that aren't raised, but they're absolutely brilliant bikes. They are boots. They are Gore-Tex. They're properly waterproof, and they are so comfortable. As soon as you put them on, no breaking in required. They are brilliant boots. They are expensive though. Let's see what it says here by Charlotte King, who's tested them. See if she concurs. My main reason for choosing these boots in particular was the hidden riser in the sole, giving an extra 6 centimeters of height in the heel and 2.5 at the toe, which is incredible. These have given me a little extra confidence on my Aprilia RS 660, which in reality is a little too tall for me. The boots were comfortable from the first wear. I found exactly the same with mine. The lining feels plush and the zippers feel sturdy and strong. CE Level 2 certified. Daytona claim they are waterproof, and I can attest to this having worn them while riding in what can only be described as biblical weather. I've worn mine in all sorts of weathers and they've been absolutely fine. They still look like new, showing very little wear to the leather outer, and although they're pricey at over £400, they really are fantastic, and I think they're worth every penny of the price. I agree. I've been wearing Daytona boots now for probably 2.5 years. They are the only boots really I wear if I'm on tour. They just work, and speak to anybody who's got them, they'll tell you the same. Anyway, they're distributed by friends of the channel and channel sponsors, bikerheads.co.uk. Link below in the description to Bikerheads if you want to check out where your local distributor for Daytona boots is. I and Mrs. Flyer heartily recommend them, and if you are a shorter rider, check out the Daytona Lady Star GTX boots. Right, next paper. Okay, EV is not the greatest of all time. Suzuki bosses commit to the future of internal combustion engines. Now, this is following on from that story of the Kawasaki hydrogen-powered bike a little bit earlier. This is something that I think may sound a little bit more sensible. This is all about synthetic fuels. So Suzuki have confirmed their dedication to the future of the internal combustion engine, confirming that the Japanese mark will explore a multifaceted approach to achieving low emission targets with investment into synthetic fuel technologies as well as hydrogen. This stance will continue for at least the next decade. Suzuki explained to MCN during an exclusive interview that they do not view electric propulsion as being a viable sole answer to motorcycling's most pressing environmental conundrum, especially when it comes to larger capacity machines. Here, this is music to my ears. I love the fact that we could still have internal combustion engines, but they could be clean, be it hydrogen powered or synthetic fuels. Now, I don't know much about how synthetic fuels are made. Presumably, the actual process of making them isn't that green, and that's why there's an issue. I don't know. But this just sounds like the right answer to me. If you could come up with a replacement fuel for, that replace our hydrocarbon one, so petrol and diesel goes, and we fill the pumps with something else that runs on the same engines but doesn't do any harm to the environment, that surely has got to be a better answer than building these electric vehicles that have some quite nasty metals in the batteries. We don't have the infrastructure for charging them, not only the charging points, but not even the national grid capacity to charge them all. I just think it makes a lot more sense. So thumbs up to Suzuki for continuing with that and committing to that for the next 10 years at least. Let's hope something comes of it. It's just such a shame it's not one of the big car manufacturers doing that, isn't it? If we could come up with some synthetic fuel that could still power all our existing internal combustion engine bikes and cars, well, that would be the answer, wouldn't it? That's the way to go as far as I can see. Right, next story here. AI targets bad drivers. Cops deploy new technology to make roads safer for all. This is quite interesting, this, I thought. Devon and Cornwall police are using artificial intelligence to identify dangerous driving offences, making roads in the 2 counties safer for motorcyclists during the coming weeks as thousands of holidaymakers flood to the region. 3 freestanding Accusensus AI cameras are operative across the region's 13,500 mile network. The first long-term use of the technology outside of Australia, where it was initially trialled. The system uses 2 cameras, one to take a front-facing image, the other an overhead view, which are then analysed by AI to ascertain if any offence has taken place. So the overhead view, I assume it looks down through the windscreen as well as the sunroof. There's a picture here looking down into the windscreen, and it's showing that somebody's texting at the wheel. So if it stops people using their phone, I'm all for it. But it does make you wonder what else can they use the AI for. So I don't know, is this crossing the line into spooky Big Brother, or is this useful? It really annoys me, the number of people I see using a phone in their car. I'm often riding by people and doing that to my crash helmet to show them that I've seen them using the phone. It probably doesn't make any difference, but if we all do it, maybe it does. But I think we need to stigmatise it even more than it is and make riding with a phone stuck, or driving with a phone stuck to it, or land riding for that matter, as bad as drink driving and anything else. And if this helps, then maybe that's a good thing. I'm just a little bit worried about where it ends, but I'm not into conspiracy theories, but you see what I'm getting at. Right, Ducati's V-twin is here to stay. Factory Insider confirms plans for all new twin-cylinder Panigale. Now, a couple of months ago, when the new V4, well, I think when the announcement that the old outgoing V2 was being stopped, that was people thinking, well, that's the end of the V2 engine for Ducati, and of course that upsets Ducati purists, but turns out that's not the case. The V-twin stays. So Ducati says they'll be sticking with V-twins for mid-capacity sports bikes, with head of product communications Giulio Fabri revealing a new twin-cylinder Panigale is in the works. The news comes just days after Ducati announced the final edition of the Super Quattro V2 Panigale. Yeah, that was the one that we talked about in the last bike news, the final edition version of that bike. Well, it looks like it's going to get a new engine developed for a new V-twin powered version. I wonder if that'll look like or more like the new V4 that we talked about just now. I bet it does, because having the two bikes out of sync would be a bit odd, wouldn't it? Ducati uncovered plans to release an all-new Supersport class machine and insisted there's no intention to move the replacement Supersport Panigale to a V4. It's not the V2 that's leaving the market, it's just that particular engine that's going. It's just the final edition of the V2 Super Quattro. Something new will come, they said. This new bike will be the first completely new bike for 2025. More is yet to come for next year, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Well, let's hope so. So it sounds like new small Panigale coming, still with a V-twin, but a new V-twin. Maybe it'll be styled more like the V4, I assume it will be. Which, as I mentioned before, is a little bit of a shame, but we'll see what they come up with. Let's wait till we see the actual bike. Alrighty, watch out Triumph. CF Moto set sights on Daytona 660 with sporty new triple. Couple of things here. CF Moto, didn't know much about them, but I did ride a CF Moto a month or two back. I've got videos on the channel of that. I rode their adventure bike. I can't remember what it's called now, but I was pretty impressed with it for the money. And now they come out with this bike, which looks very much like a Daytona, or I've also just ridden the Daytona. You might have seen my videos on that. So that's why I was quite interested on this, because it looks to me like a complete rip-off from the sides. Anyway, let's see what it says here. This is the CF Moto 675 SRR and is set to get a worldwide launch later this year. Despite the aggressive looks, the 675 SRR isn't a rival for the likes of Honda's CBR 600RR or Kawasaki's ZX6R. Blimey, complicated this, isn't it? Now, the Kawasaki and the Honda, they're talking about a proper super sport bikes, hairy, leery super sport machines. This is more in the same class as the Aprilia RS 660, the Suzuki GSXS125, etc. Instead, as it says here, the new CF Moto is aimed at machines like Honda's CBR 650R, Suzuki's GSX-8R, and the fellow three-cylinder Daytona 660, the one I recently rode. So what do you make of this? I don't know what the price is. It's got a triple engine, 94 brake horsepower, apparently, strong mid-range. It doesn't say how much it's going to be. Rider aids include a quick shifter, ABS, and adjustable traction control. Yeah, nothing on price yet, but you can be sure it's going to be well priced. And it does look nice, I have to say, albeit it does look a bit of a rip-off. But it looks lovely, and you know, if it's as good as that CF Moto I rode before, the quality will be fine. And the only thing I didn't like about the CF Moto that I rode was some of the getting to some of the functions was quite difficult via the TFT, but I assume this will be a slightly simpler bike. But anyway, we shall see when it comes out. What do you make of that one? Comments below as usual, please. Right. Effortless Explorers, the A2 Adventure segment has some hot new additions for 2024, but how do they stack up in the real world? So this is a look at cheaper adventure bikes. It says here, small capacity adventure bikes can make real sense. Not only are they easy to manage power-wise, but they're also a little lighter and lower on power and less expensive, which makes the whole journey of exploring off-road and suffering the odd spill that bit less painful, and I completely agree. So they've got here the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 versus the Honda CRF 300, the KTM 390 Adventure and the CF Moto 450 MT. So all bikes costing less than, what's the most expensive? Most expensive is the CRF. That comes in at 6,549. Oh, sorry, the KTM 390 Adventure is 6,600. They're all less than £6,600. So that's a lot of bike, you know, an adventure bike for that sort of money is good, isn't it? And it does mean you can afford to be a little bit less precious about them, which means that you probably can take them down the old green lane and not worry too much if you drop them. No one's going to take their new GS down a green lane, are they, unless they've got a lot of money to spare. And particularly, I mean, that new GS Adventure, let's not get sucked into that thing, but that's an expensive bike. Can you imagine dropping that on a green lane and breaking something? Okay, it might actually improve the bike in the case of the GS Adventure, but you get what I'm saying. Sorry, cheap shot there against the world's ugliest bike. Oh, I must stop saying that. Right, here we go. What was the verdict anyway on these cheap and cheerful, for want of a better word, but all actually quite good looking, cheaper bikes? It says here, most surprising of all is how well CF Moto's 450MT tackled just about everything we could throw its way. 450MT proved to be the best all-round package. There we go, CF Moto again, you see. It's not perfect, but for a small capacity adventure bike, it ticks pretty much all the boxes. It looks fantastic. They gave it 4 stars out of 5. The others all got 3. So who would have thought it? The CF Moto, Chinese bike, is it the cheapest? Yes, it is. It's the cheapest of all. Came out best overall. Now, I know whenever I talk about Chinese bikes, I get lots of people saying, do not support China, communist country, human rights, all that kind of thing. I completely get that, and I'm not getting into politics here. But let's face it, pretty much everything we buy and operate, if it's got any electronics in it or anything manufactured, there are parts of it that come from China. What difference is it that if it's a percentage that come from China or if all of it comes from China? I'm not getting into that, as I say. I think CF Moto are definitely going places, and these bikes to be ignored at your peril. Anyway, there we go. So that's that one. Right, last paper before we get on to parish notices. Okay, so first thing here, supercharged history maker, stunt king Johnny Davis smashes high-speed skating world record at Elvington. Do you remember we mentioned this in the last bike news that this guy, Johnny Davis, was going to have a go at this? Basically hanging himself off the back of a fast bike with some titanium-soled shoes and trying to beat the world record. Well, it turns out he's done it. It's absolutely nuts. Thousands lined up apparently at Elvington Airfield to watch Johnny Davis set a new Guinness World Record for the fastest speed being dragged behind a motorcycle. Now, call me old-fashioned, but that's not a record I particularly want to go for, but well done, Johnny. 2-time British stunt riding champion and now 3-time world record holder set a new fastest speed of 159.52 miles an hour while skating behind a supercharged Kawasaki H2SX Sports Tourer wearing a pair of specially designed titanium shoes. It was just a blurry, bumpy ride, he said. My left foot began getting airborne because the boots had turned up at the toes and the air got under it and it actually came off the floor a little bit. That sounds a bit hairy. I wonder why they turned up at the top, I suppose, so they don't dig in. What a nightmare. Well, what a brave man. Beat the record. Can you imagine 160 miles an hour or thereabouts being dragged behind a bike? He was using a thumb throttle that he had attached to the rear sort of rail thing and got up to speed, had to climb off the back of the bike and then climb back on, I understand. I mean, just nuts. Anyway, well done him. What a brave man. I love those nuts type of people that do that. It's brilliant. All right, and then the last thing just to cover off in the paper review is this paper has MCN's awards for 2024. So I just picked out a few of these that are pertinent to me, the sort of bikes that I like, just to sort of make some comments, see if we agree, disagree. Bike of the year for MCN then 2024 is the Triumph Speed 400. And I have to say, I do agree with this actually. I made a comment the other day in a video that I said if I had a bike of the year it would be the MT-09 SP, which is a fabulous bike, and I would struggle to choose between that and this. The Triumph Speed 400 is the other bike that I've most enjoyed riding this year. It's an absolute cracker. Not only is it great fun, lightweight, looks good, well built, but it's an amazing price as well. And it's been absolutely flying off the shelves. It comes in at the moment at $5,195 according to MCN here. And it says here it is the best-selling modern classic in January, February, March, April, and May. I don't know if the other figures are out yet. So it's flying off the shelves as we expect it to do so. So I think a worthy winner of MCN's Bike of the Year. Okay, next one I pulled out here was Naked Bike of the Year. And this is the Yamaha MT-09, not the SP, just a standard one. They've called this their Naked Bike of the Year. And yeah, I've got no arguments with that. It's a great bike. Looks are a little bit odd, but I think it's the best looking MT-09 yet, and it is great, great fun. Interestingly, just below, they've got the Performance Naked of the year, and that went to this Triumph Street Triple RS, another bike that I absolutely love. Interesting they went for that as the performance bike and not the MT-09 SP. Although I think the Triumph probably has it slightly on performance, to be honest. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit more powerful, so power to weight ratio is higher, and it is a cracking bike. I love a Street Triple Me, so no complaints there. Another one I pulled out here of interest, King of Cool, the XSR 900 GP. That made their retro bike of the year. Again, I can't disagree with this. I rode this. I was lucky enough to be one of the first people that didn't go on the launch to actually ride it in earnest. I've got videos of this on the channel. Go and check those out if you've not seen them. And it's a bike that isn't really aimed at me, because I didn't get this particular sort of retro thing. I wasn't following racing in the 1990s and so on that this bike I think is based on, so it didn't have a nostalgia thing for me. And I thought initially it looked a bit odd, but when you see it in the flesh, it is actually quite a lovely thing. The only downside for me was it was horrible to ride. I mean, it's based on the MT-09, it's got that great engine, but it's pretty uncomfortable. I'd take the MT-09 over this any day of the week. But to look at, it's fantastic. It's a you know, quite a departure from existing retros. So well done Yamaha for making it. So for just being different and bringing something new to the market, I think it's a worthy winner as much as anything. But I know a lot of people absolutely love the sort of nostalgia angle that this bike brings. I don't get that, but I appreciate lots of people do. And then the last one I wanted to pick out here, the adventure bike of the year, of course, has got to be the new BMW R1300 GS. I'm a massive GS fan, as you will know if you've watched the channel much over the years. The new bike, not so much, although having said that, the R1300 GS is a beautiful, beautiful bike to ride. You cannot deny that. If you ever go on one of these, I challenge you to say it's not an amazing bike to ride. It's agile, it's fast, it's refined, it's comfortable, it's a beautiful thing to ride. For me, it just doesn't quite tick the boxes that a GS, for me, should tick. I'm not that enamoured with the looks of it, but although I have to say over time, it's growing on me. I have to say it is growing on me, the looks, but that's because I'm now comparing it against the GSA, which I'm sorry what other people are saying about the bike, but it's not grown on me. That is just the ugliest bike I've seen for a long time. Still remains the case. I'm hoping I'm going to get to ride one, because I imagine it will ride dynamically, very similar to this, which will make it a great bike indeed, and I'm hoping BMW will lend me one to ride and test ride, but for me personally, I can't get by the looks of it. It's just a hideously ugly thing. But I know lots of journalists that have been invited to the launch, funnily enough, and not trying to imply anything there, are saying that actually they now like the looks of it. I can't get past the looks of it. I haven't been invited to the launch. I wouldn't go anyway. This all sounds a bit like sour grapes. It's not meant to be. These are great bikes to ride. They just don't appeal to me from a looks point of view. Simple as that. But yeah, anyway, okay, so that's the R1300 GS, the standard model, is MCN's adventure bike of the year. And I think it's fair enough to have given it that. Again, a big change, a big departure. Brave of BMW, particularly on a bike that is one of their best sellers for so long. And I'm sure it will sell pretty well. As I say, especially now the GSA is out, I think this bike will probably now get some more buyers. Okay. Next up, or final story before we get on to parish notices, Yamaha Tracer 9 GT Plus. That gets Sports Tourer of the year. And the reason I've pulled this out is because I recently rode this. I borrowed one for a couple of weeks. Videos to go up soon. And spoiler alert, I absolutely loved it. It rode brilliantly. Not too sure on the looks of it either, although I think I probably could get used to it. But from a riding perspective, it was fantastic. Beautiful triple motor. Lots of functionality, light, agile, sounded great, went well, everything you want out of a sports tourer, an absolute cracker. Yeah, I think the Tracer 9 GT Plus, a worthy winner of that award. Alrighty, that's it for the news then, so it means it's time for... Of course, parish notices. A couple of things I want to just say before I tell you what's coming up on the channel. First off, can I draw your attention to the Mad Leprechauns YouTube channel? Guy called Mert, lovely fella, met him at ABR, and at the ABR festival he did an interview with me and some others as well, which you can go and watch those videos as well, but thoroughly enjoyed doing the interview, and he posted it up on his channel recently. As I say, it's called The Mad Leprechaun. I'll put a link in the corner if I can, but if I can't, then just search The Mad Leprechaun, have a look for his interview with me. We did. It was just great fun, and I thought it came out really well, so I thought I'd let you know about that. We were just having a general chat about YouTubing, the world generally, that sort of thing. So that was a fantastic thing. So thank you, Mert, for taking the time to put that up. That was a great vid. Enjoyed that. And then I also want to say huge thanks and hello to Phil Dibb. I'm not going to say why, but Phil, you know what you did for me and my daughter. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, I owe you one. So thanks for that. All right, what's coming up then on the channel in the next month? Well, in the next video you're going to see, I must have been a good boy because Mrs. Flyer has let me borrow her new bike. She's got the Kawasaki Z900 RS, and I'm going to bring you my first ride review of that. It's technically not my first ride. I did blag a little ride a bit beforehand, but yeah, while she was away recently on a walking weekend with some pals, I got to ride it quite a bit. So my first ride review of that is coming out on the 4th. After that, my lessons learned video on the KTM Duke 390, one of my favourite KTMs, which went down a storm when I made a video on that years ago. This time round, the first ride video didn't do very well, so I don't know why that is, but I love the bike, and I've got my lessons learned coming up on that. For those of you that love tour videos, I've got another video of myself and Mrs. Flyer, just us this time, 2 up on the Goldwing in some rare lovely weather we had this summer. We went down to the Isle of Wight and had a little ride around there on the Goldwing, so there's a video on that coming up. That's coming up on the 11th of September. I've got part 2 of my GS Spruce Up, a video that went down, was quite controversial, had quite a lot of comments. There's part 2 of that coming up, so I'm bracing myself for the comments on that one, so keep your eyes out for that. I've also got that review of the Royal Enfield Himalayan, the new one. I'm well late to the party on that one, but spoiler alert, that actually is quite a nice bike from Royal Enfield, and there's much more as well. The next bike news is due on October the 2nd, so if I don't speak to you before, I'll see you then. But until then, this has been the Mr. Flyer. Cheerio.